Was there anything you learned or relearned by going over these tracks? Anything you kind of look back and say, hey, this is what it was like? Or
Yeah, I mainly learned more from recording the two new tracks. I learned that in recording some of the older tracks, I would have probably taken more of an aggressive approach and not so sterile. You know, you get in with producers you don't know and engineers, and everyone's a little intimidated by each other, and every time, you know, you really crank your amp up and cut loose, a lot of producers go, or engineers go, you know, that sounds not quite right, and they keep fiddling and fiddling and fiddling until they get their way. And if you're not strong in yourself, they'll control you, and you'll have a little bit tamed down, a little bit watered down version of a One Way to Rock or something like that. And that's the one thing I learned was just to have the confidence to know what you want in there, and you come out with something like High Hopes or By My Way into Heaven have a lot more energy than I think than the old stuff.
what made you want to just record the two tracks and not do a whole album? I mean, was it just the whole, you know, I only have time to do these two songs?
Well, that and Van Halen was starting a record, so it was time. There wasn't time to do it in between a Van Halen record. It would have come out too late. You know, my album would have come out maybe. It would push the Van Halen record back to start with Strike One, and Strike Two would be if it didn't. If I was working on them both at the same time, which would work me into death, it would have been, the albums would have been too close to each other. So, you know, the idea of doing this was to get it out in between, fulfill an obligation to Geffen Records, which wasn't the only reason for doing it, but there was one. They were going to put out a greatest hits package eventually, and so the timing just looked good right now, so we did it.
And how much control did you have over the
Complete.
putting together? Yeah?
Complete control. For instance, the song "Your Love's Driving Me Crazy," which was the biggest hit I ever had on Geffen, you know, it was my only, wasn't top 10, I think it was number 11 or whatever, 14 or something like that, but still, I didn't put it on it because I don't like that song personally, and anymore. I liked it when I wrote it at the time, but now I'm going, yeah, this is a best of record. This is like my favorite songs. It's not necessarily a hits package. It's like, you know, I guess you could call 55 a hit, but it really wasn't a hit, you know, so therefore it's really not a hits package. So it's my favorite stuff, and I picked it, and John Collider was in full agreement with me. We had one argument between VOA and I Don't Need Love, and I wanted I Don't Need Love instead of VOA because VOA's outdated. We're no longer at odds with the Russians. You know, that song was about the 1984 Olympics when the Russians pulled out in the last minute, and it kind of fired me up, so I wrote a song about we're going to kick your butt, you know. It's being big talk, you know, there I was, but it's still, that song's not valid anymore.
So was there any other tracks that you wanted to put on that you just didn't have the room to put on?
Yeah, Dick in the Dirt, I wanted that on there. No, that's really just about it. I think that, you know, I mean, I could have put 4 or 5 other songs in there. I really like Burning Down the City from the VOA album, but it just, you know, it didn't bother me. It's just plenty of songs. I'd rather put 2 new ones than any more old ones. So that was really the dilemma there, was either put all old ones or a couple new ones. I like the idea of 2 new ones because I was really excited about these 2 songs. I just wrote them, and, you know, they weren't going to be Van Halen songs because I had done them myself and finished them, so I was excited about them. I think you can hear it in the recordings, too. I sound like I'm excited, man.
What's the difference between recording for Sammy Hagar and recording for Van Halen?
Well, in Van Halen, you got a bass player, a drummer, a guitar player, and a singer, and that's it. Everyone does their job, you know, and, you know, Eddie writes most of the music, and I write the lyrics and the melodies, and Alex plays drums the way he wants, and when he's finished with his part, you know, Eddie's puts his part down, I put my part down. It's like everyone does exactly what they want, but no one has any say-so over the other guy's parts. So as a solo artist, I have complete say-so. You know, I write the songs all myself. I play all the guitars. I play everything I want, and I sing everything I want. Tell the drummer what to play and the bass player what to play, and it's more of a you know, one-dimensional kind of fulfillment. It's, I don't know. It's really, that's the only difference. It's just one's all me and the other one's a quarter me, you know, and with 3 other guys. I prefer Van Halen over this. I mean, I think it's a better process to get a great band when you got 4 great players like that, and everyone puts in their 2 cents. I think you get a better product in the end. And I'm not dogging my stuff. It's just that Sting or anyone will probably tell you that when you're in a band and everyone puts their 2 cents in, you get something different, and it's a little bit more. It's got a little bit more depth usually because a drummer thinks better than a guitar player on drums, and that's the real difference. This is Sammy to the bone. It smells like me.
The song Heavy Metal was on that, obviously it was recorded for the movie Heavy Metal. Do you know if the soundtrack is going to be released on CD soon? I know I've been looking for it.
That's funny. I get tons of fan mail about two things for CD: the Heavy Metal soundtrack and HSAS, that record I did with Neil Schon that time. Everybody, writes me letters and stuff, wants to know if that stuff's on CD. I don't know. I don't have any control over that. But probably there's plenty of bootlegs that have been on CD. But Heavy Metal, that song, there's two versions. The first version was on the soundtrack, and I did with Roy Baker. And it's got a smoking guitar solo on it. The rest of the recording I don't think is quite as good as the Keith Olsen version on Standing Hampton. But it's neat because I've never in my life had like two versions of a song like that all in the same year. I mean, but Keith Olsen at the last minute said, wow, he heard that song and he said, let's do that again. I said, sure. So we did it, put it on the record.
What do you think has been your biggest contribution to Van Halen?
Being one of the boys, to start with. We all get along, think the same, have the same ideas, have the same plans for the band, and it's not separate. To where before, towards the end, it was obviously everyone knows it was really going backup band time. We're four musicians, and we think the same, have the same goals, have same musical tastes. So that alone allowed the band to stay together. So that's my main contribution to keep this band together. I think that was if I were to judge it, I'd say that's my best contribution. Even though the songwriting I think's changed a lot. You either like it better or you don't, whatever. But without me or someone like that, like the band would have just dissolved, and Eddie would have went and did something else, and Alex would have joined some other band, or Ed and Al might have stayed together. I don't know, but believe me, it was a matter of getting these guys to feel like a band again, and they did, and right away, like that, we all did, and so I think that's a great contribution. But as far as the material goes, I've allowed Eddie to expand his songwriting because of my musicianship as well. I'm a guitar player, I play instruments. I can sing any note he can play on guitar practically, and that allows him to say, wow, you mean if I write something like this, you can actually sing that? I'm going, sure, So it's brought him out as a songwriter. There's no question about it. Him and I together as a team, I think, songwriters, we haven't even tapped. We're just starting to see what we can do. And, songs like Right Now would have never been written. And so I think that's a good contribution because that's a great song. But other than that, you'd probably ask somebody else in the band that question. That's kind of, I'd have to humble myself now and say, gee, I think the main contribution is they made me a better singer. So.
Like in that little intro to Best of Both Worlds. Has it been difficult for you to shed playing the guitar? Because I know you played guitar for forever on all your bands and stuff. With Brian May, when we had him up here, said it was so difficult to actually take off the guitar and be up there naked just singing.
Brian May, why he's doing that now?
Yeah, he did a solo.
Whoa, and he don't play guitar, or he doesn't play guitar.
There was a couple of songs in concert where he
just
took off the guitar and sang.
Well, that's different than Sammy Hagar taking off the guitar and singing, because Sammy Hagar started off as a singer with Montrose. And then I started playing guitar after that as a soloist. I started playing guitar more and more and more. Pretty soon I was playing for the whole set almost. And when I would take the guitar off after about three or four songs, for about 3 or 4 songs in the set on the VOA tour, I was nervous. I felt, especially with my headset mic, because I didn't have a handheld microphone anymore. I had nothing, man. I was standing out there like a mime. And that was scary. But, taking the guitar for me is no big deal. It's always been just a prop in a way, as something I can write songs on, something I can have on stage and gets frustration out and bust up and catch on fire and stuff. I always thought of guitar more as a prop. But Brian May, I'm just like, I'm not trying to change the subject here, but that guy's a real guitarist. I think of him as strictly a guitarist. I didn't even know he sang, and so that would surprise me if I went to see Brian May and he wasn't playing guitar. I remember, as a matter of fact, when Robin Trower quit Procol Harum. I was a big Robin Trower fan when he was in Procol Harum. And I heard that song, Man of the World, on the radio, and I thought, wow, is this him singing? He sings cool, but it was James Dewar. But I was going, wow, this guy's a cool singer. And I went to see him hoping that he was, singing, and then he had a singer. I'm going, wow, what a trip, I was actually let down. So if Brian May can pull that one off, man, if he can impress me like that, then I like Brian May, too, great guitar player. So if he can sing like that, good enough to put the guitar down, then he's got my hat off.
Well, I kind of look at it in the same way as, I guess, Michael Anthony is kind of the background of Van Halen.
Yeah.
He is kind of the sound of Van Halen. Brian May is kind of the background singing and kind of the sound of Queen.
I always thought the drummer was. I thought he's like a lead singer. I know he sang lead on a couple songs.
Yeah, they all have the good, the singing thing going, and it's, it was kind of surprising to hear Brian May, but
well, I'm gonna have to get that record.
What was the biggest obstacle in recording the 2 tracks and also putting the whole thing together?
The only obstacle recording the tracks was no obstacle. Mike Klink produced them, and he was so cool. I mean, he was just quick in the studio. Like I said, he didn't try to water me down, man. He tried to fire me up. He did a great job, I thought. And I can see why Guns N' Roses guys won't go in the studio without him, because, he lets you be a rock and roll band in there, and it's really cool. We cut the tracks live with David Lauser on drums and John Pierce on bass and me on guitar, and that's it. We cut both tracks like it wasn't like we kept playing High Hopes over and over again. We played High Hopes, By My Way into Heaven, High Hopes, By My Way into Heaven, until we got a take of each one of them. We played them like a set, like as if we were playing live somewhere, and it really helped. And most producers don't like you doing that either, But the only obstacle was getting the old stuff to sound up to par with the new stuff. The new stuff was bigger, fatter, modern, everything's done right. 10 years ago, bass wasn't as prominent on rock records, and so we had to really boost the low end on the Standing Hampton 3-lock box stuff, and like especially this third song, I'll Fall in Love Again, coming after By My Way into Heaven. It sounded like it went blinkum beer beer. I'm going, oh god, it sounds wimpy. So we remastered it over and over and over again until we got it right. But the Ted Templeman stuff and the stuff that Eddie Van Halen and myself produced, like Give to Live and Eagles Fly, sounded fine. We didn't have to do anything to that, so that was good.
It's always difficult taking over for a former member of a band, for David Lee Roth. And do you find there's like a competition between
Not at all. Never was. It never will be. To me, there aren't any fans anymore. A true Van Halen fan. Van Halen's been around for 8 years now, as Sammy, Eddie, Michael, and Alex. 8 years, almost 9 years, and that's a long time. And any fans that are still there are Van Halen fans, because that's Van Halen. Anyone that says anything like that, they went with Dave. They're gone. They're history. And maybe once in a while they come back to see how we're doing or something in concert. But our fans are strong, great fans. Every album we put out does exactly the same amount of records. It sells 4 million in America, 3 in the rest of the world. It doesn't go 2 one year, and then the next album 9, and then 1.5 million. It sells the same every time, instantly, because we have the same fans, and it's really a hardcore niche of people. I never felt the competition from the day I walked in there, not because I think I'm better, not because anything like that. It's just that I know who I am and what I do and what I brought to the band, and we just were a band instantly. It was like we had played together forever. Just recently, we heard some of Dave's new stuff on the radio, and Alex and Ed and I were sitting there in the studio, and we had the radio on, and it comes on one of his songs. I don't know what it was, and Ed and Al looked at each other and went, "It's so weird. They go, I can't even remember being in a band with that guy. I can't even believe that we ever were." And not putting anybody down or nothing. It's just like it's been that long. And the band is such a band now. It's like, geez, it just doesn't even, they don't even remember that, There's some great songs and stuff from the past, and the great ones we do. We still do, and that's it,
It seems, I guess, hearing David Lee Roth, that he's kind of, for the real rock stuff, he's kind of stuck back then, where you guys kind of progressed.
Yeah.
That's the evolution. He kind of stopped evolving, where you guys are continuing to evolve. How's that coming along on the new record?
We're still really evolving. The whole thing for us to see the music and all that was the band, and it's still Van Halen is still Ed, Alex, and Mike. You know, that's the music, that's the sound, the instruments, and myself. You can hear it on my solo record. I don't sound like Van Halen. I don't even begin to try. And Dave's mistake is he tries, because without these guys, you can't sound like Van Halen. With that, then you become a pretend band. You might as well just be a club copy band, because Van Halen is Eddie, Alex, and Michael. You know, and now with my voice, it's now Van Halen. But I think that the material that we're doing now keeps being a progression of what Van Halen has always been. If you ever really look back, you see every album, they always had Van Halen always had some kind of a groundbreaking thing. All of a sudden, Eddie was doing The Cradle Will Rock, and he's doing it on keyboards, you know, and people thought it was guitar, and things like that. And then Jump, all of a sudden, a real keyboard song, and you go, whoa. And then Why Can't This Be Love, which was another keyboard thing that sounded like guitar, and then Finish What You Started, which sounds like, you know, almost country and western. And then you know, we've done, and then all of a sudden right now, you know, a completely classical piano piece. And every time I think we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to break ground on each album, because we insist. That's the only thing I can tell you that this band tries to do. Everything else we just do. We don't think about trying to have a hit. We don't think about outdoing our last album. We don't think about none of that crap. We just make the best record we can make every time. But we always take our time, and Eddie and I will sit and say, well, what if we did a song like, you know, like Finish What You Started was a good example, you know, saying like, what if we did like a Rolling Stones kind of street fighting man kind of honky-tonk woman kind of thing, Who, Magic Bus. We're naming all these types of songs that fit that acoustic, funky drum beat category, and came up with Finish What You Started, and that's the way we'll always do. Right now we're doing a piano thing that's going to be so cool. I can't even tell you. It's just something Van Halen's never done, and it's really good.
Is there a title to that piece?
It's Not Enough. The piano piece is called It's Not Enough. But we've got.
How did that come about? Was it Eddie who was tinkering around?
No, I had a lyric, and I was singing it to him over the phone. You know, we live next door to each other at the beach, but so a lot of times we're both being bad with ideas, you know. So we were talking on the phone, and I said, hey, kind of like, like a John Lennon kind of vibe, with certain piano things you did, Imagine era. And Eddie says, oh, wow, I think I can, so he sits down at the piano that night, I guess, and the next day we go over there and got the little piece of music. I had my lyrics, had my melody, man, and it fit without even, saying, no, you'd have to go to that chord, or no, if you sing this note. It was like I had a melody and a lyric, and he had a musical part that communicated over the phone that I could sing right to what he played. That's magic. That's happened over and over again. Happened with Cabo Wabo, same thing. I was at Cabo, and I wrote Cabo Wabo lyric, melody, as if I was singing, let me take you down. Call him on the phone, holler it to him from Mexico, come back home. Him and Alex and Mike had put the track down, cut it. I walked in, sang my lyrics, bang, fit. Didn't have to change one thing. That's magic. That's what happens in this band.
So you just kind of got the phone, called him up, and boom.
Yeah.
Came back, and there it is.
Yeah. And that's how inspired we can get by each other, Same thing. He called me up in the middle of the night, played me right here in New York City, played me 5150 at 4 o'clock in the morning. When I first joined the band, we were here for the MTV Music Awards to announce that I was joining the band. He calls me at 4 in the morning. I said, Ed, no. He's going, no, I got to play this, got to play. No, please, not now, And he puts the phone up the guitar, and he plays the guitar riff to 5150. Got up, went down to his room, and I wrote the lyrics right there. We just did it like that, It's and don't happen that way every time. But there's a couple other songs, When It's Love and Love Walks In. Those were magical ones, just happened like that too.
Now, has the band found another manager yet?
No, we've talked to 4 people, and I think we've got it narrowed down to 4 people, and hopefully we'll find a guy that we believe in, and well, let's put it like this: the guy we choose, we will believe in, and hopefully we can believe in him and continue to believe in him like we did at Loeffler, and therefore it allows us to be ourselves, play music, not deal with any business hassles like we're dealing with now. I mean, we get offered everything that ever comes across the planet for a rock band to do. Believe me, it stops in Van Halen. Or the offers there, these faxes that they normally would come to Ed Loeffler's office and he'd throw them in the trash. Well, now Warner Brothers and the agencies and other management companies and other record companies and the publishers and the promoters, and they send them right directly to us now, or to Warner Brothers, and they all send them to us. And I mean, we get offered to do the goofiest cartoon shows and an animated film about us and a video game with us in it starring Van Halen. I mean, you know, millions of dollars, and it's crazy. You know, but it hassles you. You're looking at it and you go, wow, they'll actually give us like $5 million to do this, and you go, nah, I don't care if they give us $50 million, no way. So it's, you know, but it's the temptation is always there, and the goofiness sometimes looks like fun. You're going, you know, this might be a blast. And then we look it over again and we go, oh, God, you know, we got to be so careful because, you know, it's keep taking us away. Or it's not doing it, but it would be taking us away from what we really do, and that's going on tour and making rock and roll records, and that's what Van Halen's all about. And anything that detours from that, a good manager should know it, and hopefully the guy we choose will weed out all that crap and just say, hey, you guys do this best. Stay in the studio, get out on tour, you know, make a couple videos, take some time off, you know.
It's weird that, I don't know if you heard that Ozzy Osbourne had a whole comic book after him, and he was at this comic book signing and everything like that. You know, it's funny you mentioned that you have all these cartoons or whatever, all these offers.
Well, the comic book thing, there's a guy that does that anyway. Some company has Van Halen one too, and it's the first book was about, it's been around for years, and it was about Dave splitting and me joining the band. And the weird thing is I don't want to get anybody fired up out there and looking for this comic book, but there was a lot of truth in it and what happened, the way it happened and all that. They had a lot of little lines in there that were like, wow, this must have came from some in-depth interviews. This person who did this comic book must have really got into the interviews, and even things that we never thought we said in interviews. You know, we read it and went, wow, you know, where the hell did they get that one from? You know, because a lot of it was pretty right on the money.
Really? So
Yeah.
the key lies in the comics.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it was about the best. That's, you know, actually that's hilarious. It was about the best version of the whole story that I've ever seen. It was in a comic book, but there's 2 or 3 other ones. There's one with me doing something with I don't know, with me and Montrose. I think Ronnie and I getting in a big beef about stuff, and I don't know where these guys get this stuff, but it's pretty funny. But we don't okay those. Is all I'm saying is, those are not okay to us. They just come out. Now, we aren't the people that go around and sue other people. Otherwise, we'd probably sue them to stop this, you know, making money off of us, because it's not fair. A lot of our fans probably think we endorse this stuff, and we do not. But I'm not down on it. We don't sue anybody for anything. I'd just soon let people go ahead and make a living any way they can.
Now, with this album, is there, you know, did passing away of Ed kind of have an impact, or are you guys still recording, and is it kind of affecting the song?
Oh, no. We just started the recording first of the year. Ed Loeffler passed away in November. When Ed Loeffler passed away, he passed away in October. Kari and I went to the funeral and split for Hawaii, you know, for a few months just to get away from everything. Came back and started the album. Well, came back and knocked my 2 songs out real quick and started the Van Halen record. It has affected the writing in some ways. I think because of Ed Loeffler's death, it's caused so many, like I said, vultures and wolves to be sitting outside of our door. We've learned to kind of deal with them and ourselves, and because we haven't, like I said, let anyone step in, even as a temporary. So therefore, it's affected the writing to where we have kind of a little bit more of an attitude and a little bit more of a bitter edge on us, and a little more compassion for good guys on the planet, and a little bit less for bad guys. So it's coming like a black and white record. It's in my opinion, it's rather dark at times, and then the light at the end of the tunnel type things, the hopeful songs, the dreams, you might say, of the record, are really positive and wonderful and will put chills all over you. So it just made us, I think, a better band.
Are you itching for the album, the new Van Halen, next Van Halen to come out? I mean, is it kind of like burning up in your veins?
Yeah, it is. Because we've got these 3 songs that are written. 2 of them are completely recorded and done, actually. And I can't wait to play them live. We have this one song, so far it's entitled Amsterdam. And, when we play this in Amsterdam, I can't wait. It's all I can say is I'm just sitting there going, this is going to be probably one of those highlights of a tour when we play this song in Amsterdam, just like when we got to play Cabo Wobble at the Cabo Wabo, even though there was only 700 people in the club, it's only the size it would hold, but it was just one of those things where the connection happened. And it's going to be real exciting. I already can't wait to do that, yeah.
So I can imagine, it's kind of like boom, and then all of a sudden this power surge comes up, and that's it.
Yeah, they're special moments, and it's going to be. Just like I remember when we first finished Pound Cake. Honestly, it was one of the last songs on For Law of Carnage, and I'm going, as soon as we finished, I said, this has got to open the album. Everybody in the band, yeah, it clicked. Everybody knew that. And say, and this has got to open the live show. And before we had played, we're rehearsing for 6 weeks or whatever, and before we did a full gig, and every time we played it, you'd be halfway through, kind of bored with it, I was playing it for the 50th time, and you're going, man, all I had to think in my head was, but wait until those curtains open, and we bust into Pound Cake. It's like there was just a feeling that you knew it was a great opener. I don't know whether our fans think it was as much as we did or not, but sure enough, man, the first night when we hit that song, you got chills all over your body for a minute, or 2 minutes, you sit there like, the Goose Man. It was pretty trippy. I like those moments, that when you know it's going to be, and then it connects, and it's even more than you could imagine.
Now, life on the road, it's very, I guess, rough life for anybody to lead. You've done it for quite a while.
Yeah, look at me, I'm only 25.
And you, sort of, you don't look a day over 24, actually. But are you sort of
Times 2.
growing wary of it, or do you kind of say, look, we have to go through all this just to reach the fans, there's got to be a better way? Are you still into it?
Oh, still totally into it, and we've refined it so much, not just us, but rock has been so refined on the road. When you're, successful, hate to say it like that, but you can make it a lot easier than when you're first starting out. When you're first starting out, there's no money. You're staying in crap hotels. You're sharing a room with the guy in the band, sometimes a roadie or two. You got, no money to go to do anything, and they're really all cramming in one station wagon, sometimes in a truck, a van, and the whole band has to drive all night in a truck, sleeping in a seat, That beats you up after a few months of that, believe me. You say, man, if I just have my own bed for one night, I'll be great tomorrow, But now, we have our own plane and stay in great hotels. We don't book too long of a tour without a break, not because we're wimps, but because we really care about being in healthy and wanting to go out on stage. If you play 14 shows in a row without a break, a day off, you're tired, man. There's no doubt about it. Between the travel, your voice is hurting, your legs are hurting, your back's hurting from the guitar, Eddie's fingers are hurting, and the show will suffer. And when you're standing there 5 minutes to go on and you're going, God, I don't feel like doing this tonight, and you got 18,000 people out there, that's unfair to those people. So we learned that a long time ago. And it's what we do is we book 3 shows in a row maximum before we have a day off. We book 6 weeks straight before we take a month off in between. So that every time we walk on stage, we're chomping at the bit. We're like going, can we go on now? Like to our tour manager, can't we just go on now? Well, it's not ready. Well, we're ready. We're fired. We're pumped. It's like an athlete, that's in a peak condition. And that's the way we try to keep it. And we do the best job we can to keep ourselves in that way. And that's why Van Halen doesn't do bad shows. We haven't done a bad show for 8 years, and that's not no bull. That is the truth.
Yeah, you learn things after a while. It's great.
Yeah.
It's a good thing, to do also to keep your sanity, to schedule things in that way. You know, a lot of performers, you know, they have to hit as many people, but the fans will still be there, and they'll still be there to see you. So, you know, it doesn't really pay to kind of beat yourself up.
Can't or burn the fans. They won't be there anymore if you burn them 2 or 3 times. You know, a lot of people have done bad shows in a row, and you've seen so many careers that have been whack. All of a sudden, you're going, "What happened to those guys?" Well, if you were out there on the road with them or heard the stories that I hear, you know what happened to them. They start doing bad shows, not showing up, going out on stage for 20 minutes, walking off the stage, jumping in the cars and leaving the building, stuff like that. It's 2 or 3 times that, and people are gonna go, "Well, I heard so and so's coming to town." Yeah, too bad, I ain't going again. So.
Let's change gears. How about the BAMA Awards? You won the awards for the BAMA Awards. How do you feel this year?
That's great. It's great. The BAMAs are as much fun as the Grammys to me. I've been to both. Won Grammy before with Van Halen. We won 2 years ago, whatever it was. Anyway, the BAMAs are the most fun to me. It's my hometown, and I know so many people there. I got so many friends there. It's kind of like it's the ultimate party. You get to see your buddies play. You get to jam with your friends. Like Neil Young this year came up and jammed with me, and we did a half-hour version of Down by the River with no rehearsal. And we talked about it on the phone. I wasn't even sure he was going to come and still do it. And he was there, and I said, "You going to do it?" He goes, "Yeah." "What are we going to do?" I said, "You said Down by the River." And he goes, "All right." So what key? E minor? Okay, let's do it. And it was great. And at a major award show, I was the headliner of this show, and at the end of my set to do a jam for a half an hour. I mean, that don't happen at the Grammys. At a major award show, that would never happen. But the BAMAs are a major award show in the Bay Area, maybe not in the rest of the world, but hey, it's 10,000 people, it's televised, it's everything else, but you can do those kind of things. Now, I think that's cool. I mean, we really took a chance, but it was great.
Now, is Neil going to come up on stage for Van Halen, and you guys going to play some...
Oh, Neil would jam Van Halen anytime. Eddie and I did the bridge benefit with him for that school, the acoustic thing, and we came out and the 3 of us did an acoustic version of Rockin' in the Free World. Oh, actually, everyone did with some, Melissa Etheridge and Bonnie Raitt and the Wilson sisters, and we did Rockin' in the Free World. So Neil's kind of a jammer, so I would imagine on this next tour, maybe, who knows, maybe we'll go out with Neil Young and do a tour. I don't know. I would love that. He's a great friend.
Now, the public service part, what was it? I'm kind of unclear on the public service part.
Well, me too. Me too. I think it was a trick to get me there. No, this is some Solcott Award or something. Solcott? Yeah, something Solcott Award. I don't know who that person is, but it's an award for public service and for kind of being a do-gooder and kind of throughout your career doing some great shows and some great things for people and some, I don't know. And in the Bay Area, I've certainly been all that, but other people have as well. But I think Carlos Santana's already received it, but he does a lot up around there. Neil Young does a lot. His wife, Peggy, should get that award next year, even though she's never performed. Well, actually, she did perform. Yeah, she sang backgrounds with him at the Oscars this year for that song. But I was honored, but it's embarrassing to me to get an award like that when there's other people that maybe deserve it more than you. And also a thing like the USA Harvest thing, USA Harvest that Van Halen did on the last tour. That was part of what they were giving me the award for giving away all that food. And like the Bay Area, giving all that money to the schools. From the HSAS thing, we gave all the profits from that, the proceeds, period, not even the profits. We gave the proceeds from all the shows and from the Elm to the schools. But we didn't publicize that because it's not like what you want to do it for. No, we weren't doing that for publicity, man. If you do something for publicity, you can spend 10 grand and buy a full-page ad in some magazine and say anything you want. Say, hey, Van Halen did this or Van Halen did that. For 10 grand, you don't have to give away, 1 million meals. we fed 1 million people on the USA Harvester. But so I was embarrassed by receiving an award for it because I've always played it down and I've always refused to do press about those things. Now, our publicists and the record companies and the USA Harvest people, they all, were real happy about it and let a lot of it out. But the band we didn't even take photos hardly for that stuff. We said they want us to go down to the missions. No, that's something Michael Jackson does. When he gives away something, he goes and makes sure the world knows he did it. Not all the time. I shouldn't say that. I'm actually sorry I said that, because I'm not sure about all that. He's got enough trouble right now. I don't need to burn him. But let's pick on somebody else. But Van Halen and myself, we don't do it. And so for me to receive that award, I was saying, well, how do you people know that I did all this stuff? Because I've never publicized it. And the guy goes, well, we've been following you. And Neil Young's going, hey, he gave me the award. He's going, I followed you around for a while, found out what you've been doing. I said, hey, if you've been following me around, they're going to take this award away from me. But it was honored. I mean, honorable, I guess. I liked it. It's just embarrassing. I'm always embarrassed to sit there and be praised. I'm even embarrassed when a fan comes up and says, "Oh, Sammy Hagar, you're the greatest singer, man." Oh man, I feel so embarrassed. I think, well, what am I supposed to do? I don't like to go around places like that. Not because I don't like to be around my fans, because I can't handle that. What am I supposed to say? I say thank you, or yes, I know. But I mean, really, it's difficult. That's probably more difficult than walking out on stage and having 20,000 people screaming, Sammy, Sammy. That's easy because I'm separate. I'm up there. I'm going, that's what I'm here for. You paid the money and I'm here to do it and I'm going to give it to you, But when I'm walking down the street and one-on-one and somebody comes up and starts praising me, I feel really uncomfortable. I'm thrilled and honored, and it makes me smile, but I don't feel comfortable with it.
Is it one of those things where it's like a fight or flight kind of, grin? Is it a grin and bear it, or is it, hey, I feel appreciated, or is it a combination of the two? Because I know that a couple of groups don't like when fans come up and they get really annoyed. Not just a little uncomfortable, but kind of really.
Well, if someone's really obnoxious and annoying, well, that, I don't care if they're a fan or not. Anybody comes up to you with a big line of crap, that's no fun for anybody. And I'm pretty much, I get away from it pretty quick. I know how to handle those things. But I'm talking about when it's honest and for real and not obnoxious. But if it just carries on 1 minute too long, it makes me uncomfortable. Because after it's all been said and done, it's like the next question is going to be, well, how can I get a hold of you? Can you give me your home phone number, man? I just, I'd really like to sit down with you and talk to you about something. And they mean it a lot of times. Your fans, they think they know you really well. And they really want to understand certain things you've said or done in songs a lot of times. And that's when it gets, if you stay there that long, then you've been there way too long. But I'm real cool about it because I figure if a fan finds me on the street because of what I do for a living, they have the right to ask me for an autograph or a handshake or something like that, and I'm always good for that. I never, ever burn my fans. But if they come to my house, then I go, now, wait a minute. This is where I live. And that's when I get uptight, and that's when I go out and say, hey, out of here. And I try to be reasonable and say, hey, look, you understand? If they don't understand, then it's like open the gate and kick their ass or something. But that's the fan side of it. Fans are great.
What would Van Halen do in terms of benefits, and why do you guys do all these benefits and things for...
Well, we do things that go directly to the people. We only do things that are not big organized events. We only do things that we are in charge of, that we can see that no one is being paid for them. A lot of benefits, 3 cents from every dollar, go to the cause. We don't do those things. 70 cents from the dollar, we don't do those things. 95 cents from the dollar, we may consider it. But USA Harvest was all volunteer. It was a bunch of wealthy doctors and lawyers and professional people's wives and the professional people and so forth that in each town are involved in this organization, people that don't really have to work for a living, and they take the food. They take the food from grocery stores, or from, in our case, we had the fans bring canned food to concerts. They take it in trucks. They rent the trucks, or they borrow a truck from people, their pickup trucks, and they take it straight down to the missions, and it goes straight to the missions, and the people are fed. By the time we hit the stage, people were eating food. Now that is direct. We fed 1 million people for zero money. The fans put out money. But I'm saying no one had to, taxpayers didn't have to, the government didn't get involved. For the Clinton organization to feed 1 million people, it would cost about $1 trillion, I'm sure, Otherwise, they would do it. But they just there's too much bureaucracy. Too many people have to be paid. Joe Blow to drive that truck is going to get union scale time and a half, you know. And then, you know, the guys unloading it, they're going to be sitting around their butt all day, and then maybe, you know, unload a couple boxes, and they're going to get time and a half, you know, for sitting there overtime. You know, it's what I'm saying. It's just the government doesn't do anything for nothing.
So you're saying that, like, Van Halen will do anything that people really aren't making money on the
Yep,
side for.
that no one makes any money out of it, you know, and we don't want publicity for it. And, you know, it's like it's an even trade. You don't make any money, we don't take any publicity. We told USA Harvest, same thing. You guys have all the publicity for this. You can, you know, put a feather in your cap. But it's a wonderful organization. We're still involved in things like that come up. I don't want to say what and this and that because pretty soon everybody and his dog will be calling us trying to get stupid. We're looking at a lot of things that are just organizations where people that have the money and the time can afford to contribute, and for those that don't. And that's the whole idea of the whole thing. You know, if everybody that has a little extra, you give a little to someone that's missing a little something, it kind of, everything goes even and it's okay. But when you try to take from everybody, you know, you rob this guy to give to that guy, and, you know, it's like, I don't know. I don't like the way the government goes about this stuff.
I heard rumors about that you were lessening your involvement in Cabo Wobble to dedicate more time to Van Halen. Now, is that true?
I don't have any time in Cabo Wabo. See, Cabo Wabo is a resort place for me. I go down there strictly for relaxation. It was the business side. A manager had, a former manager we had done a lot of bad things there, let the place get run down, stolen money from us, and so forth. And I won't say which one it was, but one of them. And it was, over the years, the place has started, it's a wonderful place. You know, if you go to Cabo Wobble, you go, wow, God, this is great, fantastic. But it's in Mexico, and weird things happen in Mexico. So without Ed Leffler, it became a burden because another manager had just quit the club, and we got nervous about how we were going to keep it open. The employees had the place, and this one manager, he quit and gave the keys to the employees, for instance. I mean, the employees, they don't speak English, nothing. I go down there, who's in charge around here, you know, and we don't know. We're not businessmen, Van Halen, you know, so I was going to get rid of it, but I decided I found a new manager who I like, and I'm going to keep it now because I love the place, and it doesn't take any headache except when something like that happens. But I sold my bike stores, and I'm just out of any kind of extracurricular businesses because they don't take away from Van Halen, they take away from me. Van Halen always comes first. You know, I'd let the bike stores or Cabo Wobble sit with the employees with the keys before I would leave the studio with Van Halen if we're in the middle of something. So Van Halen's always first, so then it's my private time that gets beaten up, and that's no good. You know, because that, in a way, that takes away from Van Halen, because my private time is what makes me have time to write and to be as good as I can be in Van Halen. And without that time, I'm stressed and maxed out, and therefore everything suffers. I've got it down to a fine art now. The last interview I did where I was just discovering this thing, I was realizing what I was trying to do. Well, now I'm doing it. It's coming together really good.
Is Eddie Van Halen the best musician or most talented person you've ever played with?
Certainly the most talented musician I've ever played with. There's no question about it. I think he's the best musician all the way around. Not just guitars, musician. This guy is a really, really great musician. Well, the first thing you're impressed with, to be honest with you, because now that's why I say musician over guitarist, I was impressed with his musicianship, that his meter, without anyone else playing, to be showing me this guitar part, and it's as if drums and bass and everything are playing, because his meter is so good. You know, he taps his foot, you know, it's always right there like that. You know, it isn't like, you know, speeding up, slowing down, fumbling. Incredible time. And then his creativity always impresses me, because from nothing, which is a true artist, from nothing, he'll say, well, I've been thinking about maybe try to write a song like this, and all of a sudden I mean, I'm sure there's guys, you know, jazz guys that I don't know who they are. There's, you know, there's classical musicians like it's the guys that Pearl, the cripple, yeah, Perlman. that guy is a great musician. You know, I mean, Pavarotti is a great musician. He's a singer, but he's a musician. To phrase like that and have those kind of pitch control, he's a musician. Eddie Van Halen's great musician. The greatest musician I've ever been in the same room with. So.